Okay. Unmute your microphone. And when the speaker will be presenting, will be talking, you will mute it. And if you have something to say, you will just unmute and say it. Okay, and we have the chat box there on the right, so you can type the questions, you can type the comments, and monitor the activity in the group and just moderate the webinar. So I am pleased to give the floor now to Mr. Stepichev. So Peter, do you hear us? Now you can turn on your camera and your microphone.
Okay, so you turn off the camera, turn off the screen.
You can leave, in the group, you can leave the camera on, it doesn't bother us, but the microphone should be muted just not to create the background noise. Okay. Last week, Mr. Stepichev became father, so our congratulations to him. He is a young father and a very enthusiastic teacher. Peter, do you hear us?
Yeah, sure. Yes. Thank you so much.
Yes, so the floor is yours. You can start your presentation.
Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, can you hear me? Can you see me? So, well, it's my first days of enthusiastic father, but I've been an enthusiastic teacher for a period of time, and I'm eager and ready to share my experiences and practices that might help your students in different spheres. I mean, today we have a focus on BVI students, but I think that most of the models and games I'd like to share can be both for regular classroom and for the blind and visually impaired students. Actually, the first idea is that we should something in their hands to be able to touch grammar, to manipulate with grammar, to learn rules, not only by compiling the tables and just doing exercise, but by giving students some real models of what we teach. And the first tool I'd like to show, as my presentation is titled Tools and Ideas for BVI Students, I'd like to show the tool Grammar Cube. In Russian, it's Gramik, grammar, the cubes of grammar. That's how it looks like. I wonder if you listened to my presentation a few months ago, which I did for Moldova. No? Yeah? Okay. Then I'll just repeat a few things and extend, definitely. So, that is a grammar cube, a BVI version for blind visual impaired students. What I did is I put a Braille film on the cube, and now those students who cannot see, they can literally touch the grammar structure and see how simple tenses and well, the modals are formed in a sentence. So if we, well, this dot is to make sure that students understand that that's the upper part, and that is the, that should be like down. Yeah, and that should be up. Okay. So if we use the cube this way, we get imperative. So read, help, play, and eat. I guess that's well, a set of the most important actions for children, for school children. Read, play, help each other, and eat. Well, then we go to affirmative sentences like they eat, you eat, you read, and so on and so forth. Then we move on to general questions like, did you read? Can you read? Will you read? And do you read? And finally, we get the questions of so-called special questions, like how can they read? Where can they read? Or why did they read? Or why did they, what is that? Play. Yeah? Help. Yeah. So the whole idea that our students usually skip auxiliaries, and if they like use a grammar cube, they will not skip auxiliaries because auxiliaries are already there. And if you want to take it away from the cube, it's impossible. So some students, because in Russian that is the challenge we face. I wonder if it is the same with your students, because we have this challenge that our students skip auxiliaries and they say like where you eat. So this model helps to put auxiliaries back in place. And I introduced this tool as a tool for inclusive classroom. It means that students who can see can look at the words, and students who cannot see, they use the Braille component. And a teacher can also use both channels of perception, because now you can see the cube from what I'm showing to you. And if you come closer, well, unfortunately, Skype does not allow to actually give it to you like this. I wish I could, because it's great to really manipulate with it, to feel to feel it not as a visual learner, but as a tactile learner. And up to 40% of a regular classroom is a kinesthetic. So we usually underestimate kinesthetic students, even students that can see perfectly well. Sometimes it's not the only or the most preferable channel of perception for them. For up to 40% of students, well, they need to touch things, and you can tell that your students are kinesthetic by conducting a few experiments. First of all, you should look at their pens. Most of kinesthetic students are so active that they actually break the pen, and this part of pen is missing usually with kinesthetic students. They just like do it all the time while listening to you, and then they kind of break it. So all this stuff will be missing. One more experiment you can conduct is you can give your students a clip at the beginning, And by the end, oh, it's good, like contrast, like black hair and yellow clips, so you can see it better. So you can give it well at the very beginning, and then you have a lesson and students listen to you attentively, but at the same time kinesthetic students manipulate with things, and by the end of the lesson they will break it or do something crazy with it, like it will be like this. It's not because they're naughty, just because they need to touch things, they need to manipulate with things, and we don't give them such a chance. What we give them is visual aid, PowerPoint presentation, posters. Most of things we do in the classroom are for visual students. Even now, I'm kind of visual lecturer, because many things that I show, you see instead of touch. So I guess the best way is probably send a few models before, like by regular post, and then tell about them so you can touch them. So I have a few models of the grammar cubes. That is one of the basic models. That is one more model. The principle is the same, just the factor is different. I had a few lessons with well, in an inclusive setting, when I had both students that can see and cannot see in the classroom. The experience is the following. For example, in Kazan, in Tatarstan, I gave one grammar cube to a future teacher, a teacher-to-be, who is a BVI student. And another grammar cube went to a student from a non-linguistic department. And then I gave them answers, and they should create questions. For example, well, let it be, they help parents every day. The question is, when do they help? So my BVI student did it like this. She rotated the cube and came up to the right answer. And a student from a non-linguistic department used a table on the box of the game, and it was like, when, когда, where, где, and so on and so forth. So he used the table, and because of that, he was slower. And a BVI student that cannot see won the duel with that student. She was the first to create the sentence, and she was quite happy about it. It was like, I've done it. So the instrument balances and helps BVI student feel empowered in the classroom. And if a BVI student well, knows the elements of the cube, he or she can be as effective as a student who can see. And that is a very important result for me, because usually we speak of time, like the BVI students, they need more time, but not in this case. So, and well, actually, again, coming back, yeah, I can see the comments. Yeah, me too. Probably that's because that's why I develop such tools, because I feel that visual presentation of material is not enough for me. I can enjoy a very well printed book, a great presentation, but I feel that it's not enough for me to learn. It takes me more time when I just see things. I need to touch things, I need to manipulate with things, and it's also the approach of like doing, when you learn by doing. That is one more important thing here. So one more model I'd like to show you is a 3D printed model. It is printed on a 3D printer. We have panels here. We put panels inside. And they also have dots on them. So, oi, that's okay. Just a moment. Where did they? Read, for example. Yeah. Oi. So that is how it works. So you can put any panel inside. And so that's how it works. But in this case, the technology is a bit different. The dots come after the, well, usual printing, and they interfere into the perception of the words. So you can see it as they, but not as well as you can see here. Some learners say that the dots here appear to be like a bit rough, because here it is film and here it is like 3D printing. But still you can change the panels, and that's why many people like this model. I will show you a few more things that I haven't yet transformed into BVI version, but it can be transformed because it's again something that you can hold in your hands. I can show you a tool to teach reading. We put letters here. So we need some more letters. Yeah. So I used the same model to teach well, to teach pronunciation. And here is a real example from real life. When I was traveling to Yekaterinburg, I showed this word to a group of men in my compartment in the train. And all of them were not English teachers of English. They read this word as sake, which is and everybody did that. Oh, that man, they like sake, it's sake. And then I showed them something that they do know. Most of people know fake because it's a buzzword. Many people know buzz. No fake because of fake news and fake things. And some people also know cake, because they learned cake in the childhood and they cannot forget it. So cake. When I make sure that my well that my students let me tell you, that those men in the train, they can read the word cake or fake. Then I show them this is a K again, and they read sake. So that's how I teach absolutely like strangers in the train, and well, that's how it works in the regular classroom with our students, because our students think, many of them, that English is a number of rules that they need to well, memorize. And I have one more example from my wife, who's a teacher of English, and she says that her parents, well, parents of her students, they in many cases don't understand how English works, and again, they are for memorizing things instead of understanding the rules. For example, the mother says, well, we do not have rake in our list. That's why we cannot read it. Add it to our list and we will learn how to read it. But the idea is that my wife gives students some basic things like lists like this, and to test how they can read, no, not how they can memorize words, but how they understand the idea. She adds words that students don't know. For example, this rake, this tool for gardening, rake, yeah, and students that understand how the whole idea works, like how the structure works, they can read rake. And those who have just memorized the list of words, it's not about reading, it's about like lists of words that they memorize. And with the help of Grammar Cube, we try to show that English is a logical thing, that you can learn just a few things and you will be able to speak. You do not have to learn like lots of structures. You just need to understand the system. One more thing that my students really like is a combination of letters. I show my students combinations like th, sh, f, sh, and my students make this sound. It sounds really funny because I do it in a quick way. And then my students do it to me, like my 6-year-olds. They like rotate the cube, and I need to like make the sound myself. And I also use it to show how one word can change into another. Like here I have hop, hop, and then I add E, and I have hope. And now I have hop again. Or it can be no. It can be not, or it can be not, nope, like this. So again, when you have well, like tools that you can hold in your hands, it's easier to learn, well, different things, not only grammar, but the pronunciation and things that most people address as abstract. You make them like concrete, you make them like real. And I do have a BVI version of this. So I do have the letters with the Braille dots. but now, I've already distributed all of them, the children and schools and and libraries for BVI people, like they already started using them, but I'll produce more, definitely, because we have lots of people that need it, and I keep producing these tools, and that is something that I already have, and I will show you something that I'm in progress of doing, and that is new. That is something that I could not show before because it was like a file, and now it is real. I used the same model to teach numerals. For example, this is 1. This is 11. This is 114. And this is 147. 1147. Yeah. So we can learn numerals. But also, if you do it like this, you can present it as a year, and it is 1147, which is the year of foundation of Moscow. So like 2 parts. Or maybe it is 13 minutes to 12. So we can also teach like time. Yeah. So 3 main functions: numerals, dates, and time. And I also have like mathematics here, like plus, minus, subtract, add, multiplication sign, division sign, things like that. This is not a BVI version, though you can feel you can feel the numeral with your finger, but I do not have this Braille component on it. But I think it is easily done, and I will add it for sure. And next year I will also have this these panels with the Braille component. And next year, when I have more like grammar cubes for BVI learners, I think I can send a few to your association for free, because that was started as a grant project, and I produced like 100 of them for the Russian Federation, but I really need some more feedback from learners, maybe from learners whose combination of languages is not just Russian plus English. And I think that is kind of good idea for cooperation to give a few grammar cubes like that to your association. If you have such students, you can write to me, and I'll think how we can do it. Probably send it by post or give it to like people who come to Moscow from time to time. So a few more things that can be transformed into BVI, but at the present moment these models and games work pretty well for the regular classroom. This idea is a card game, and actually the rules can be applied for not only beginners. This game is for beginners, but the rules can be applied for any age. The whole idea is the following. I have 6 topics here, and we have cards in the beginning of the game. We have cards in the middle on the table. We may have from 2 to 15 players. Player number 1, player number 1 takes a card. Let it be like blue, and puts this card on the table. Another player, player number 2, takes a card from the deck, and it is face. Topics are different. Blue face. Okay. Yeah, but anyway, topics are different, so we just put face on top and go on with this game. Player number 3, let it be read, a verb. One more category, and topics face and read are different. That is parts of body, and that is a verb. So topics are different, that's why we put it on top and go on playing. Then we have player number 4, we have cow. Cow is an animal, read is a verb, so we usually compare a new card with the previous. So animal and verb, they are different. We put animal on top and go on playing. And then suddenly, as we are in Russia, we take a bear. And we had a cow, and that is a bear. Animals. So player number 5 is not very lucky, because if the topics coincide, you need to take all the previous cards. So I put bear and I take these cards. Let's imagine that we have only 5 players. The 5th player took the cards. Player number 1 takes one more from the deck, and that is mouth. Player number 3, player number 4, and then player number 5 well, does not have to take cards from the deck, because player number 5 has already taken cards. So I do have cards on hand, and I play taking cards from my deck, my personal deck. I have here blue, face, reed, and cow. So all the cards that have already been mentioned. And I put cow one more time. So the whole idea is that players like put their cards one by one. When topics coincide, you need to take cards, and when they do not coincide, you go on playing. And sometimes not very lucky people can take piles like this, but usually this game is well well, very good for those who lose, because people who lose, they usually have cards on hand, and they look at their cards and remember. Students that win, students who are lucky, they usually don't have cards. They take and go, take and go. And they memorize cards not so not so well. And well, usually it takes from 4 to 5 games to memorize all the words. We have here 54 words in the basic deck and 108 in the extended deck. So the game is simple, but it gives this chance of continual repetition. Like if you play for a long time, this blue, this face, this cow, they are repeated a few times. It can also be transformed into a BVI version. If I add film with the dots, it can be easily played by students who cannot see. It's no problem in terms of technology. So I think well, I'll try to do it. And I'll report how it works in this setting. What else can we do with the cards? We can actually do some fortune telling. I will choose a word from the deck, and I'll give you a task. So I'll show you this word, like this is a word. So I have a word there. Your task is to give me a list, like each of you should tell me, what do you want to do with this thing or person, with this noun? So a verb from you, and I will show you what noun I have. For example, do you want to see it? Do you want to eat it? Do you want to give something to eat? So what do you want to do with this thing or with this noun? Okay, let's have a list, and then I'll show you what card I meant. And we'll see if our words can come together. You want to hug it? Great. Okay. It can be a thing or a person, so it can be both. To hug it. Okay. Something else probably? It can be done with any cards, actually, not only with the cards that I showed. To play with it. Great. To taste it. Great. Okay. To touch it. Okay. So in the classroom, if we do a task like this, we generate many words out of one word. So I have just one word, but you already have 5, which is great. Go shopping with that. Okay, well, I'm practically ready to open it. Let it be like 10 seconds and I'll open it. Like 10. Okay, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So, what is this noun? It is a noun, children. So you want to hug children? You want to play with children? You want to taste children? Okay, children will run away. You want to touch children and to go shopping with children. Okay, well, quite good combinations, because in many cases people buy or sell children, or they sometimes eat or cook children. So yeah, great job. So the whole idea that is that we can okay. Well, it could be any noun, but I usually choose something relevant to our profession. Children or students. Yeah. And after that, we can discuss the concept of actually of collocation, because because well, some collocations are more natural, some are not natural, and some are well, are not available in English. For example, we use tall for people or for children, and we use high for mountains, for example. So this fortune telling can be a start for such a discussion. For more examples in this sphere, what collocations are good, what collocations do not exist in English, and this kind of work is important for our students, because they use collocations from their native tongue, and that doesn't work. For example, in Russian we have высокая трава, like high grass. In English they have like long grass and things like that. So any game like that can be a start for deeper discussion and for more examples. Okay, so it can be done with well, different nouns. We can make collocations like adjective plus noun, or verb plus adverb. But probably a verb plus noun is the funniest way to do it, and you can choose any card for that, actually. So that is how cards work. If you choose different topics, you can do it. The whole idea is that you should take usually 6 topics and the same number of words in each topic to play this kind of game when you play it one on top of another. So 6 topics, usually 8 or 9 words in each topic, but the same, because you cannot take like, if you create such a game with your active vocabulary, if one topic consists of 4 words and another of 14, this game will not work. So for this game, you need to, well, for fortune telling, everything will work, but for this game, you need the same number of words in each topic. So one more game that can be transformed into a BVI game is the game Grammar Gloves. I showed Grammar Gloves in the first webinar for Meta, but well, I didn't have this idea for to make it a BVI learning instrument. So this finger is an index finger, yeah. So it is used to show, to order, to make people follow your instructions. That's why we put a verb on it. For example, read. The next finger is the biggest and it's in the middle, so let it be a subject. And now we have they read. So each finger has its own association. The small finger is like a kid. They usually ask questions, and that's why we put a question word on it. And now we have why they read. And we have one more finger, which is in Russian, and it helps a lot because when our learners have associations, they understand that this finger is for orders. That finger is really small, like small kids. This is really like the biggest and in the middle. And that is in Russian called безымянный or untitled or no name finger. As it is no name, we put something that cannot be translated from English into Russian. And we put do on it. And we have why do they read? Each finger has its own association. I usually have some, well, it is challenging for me to describe this method in English, because in English this finger is not no name finger. In English this finger is called a ring finger, and that's why I cannot usually explain to foreigners. I cannot usually explain to foreigners why I put do on the ring finger. And many native speakers, like Americans or British people, they don't really understand why I stress, well, this word, because for them auxiliaries are natural. Like many teachers who do not have a command of both languages, of Russian or Slavic language and English, they do not understand that we have this challenge. So I do know that it is a ring finger, but it is more difficult to explain grammar this way. But I see that many children from Russian cities where I had open classes, they understand it with their fingers pretty well. We started using grammar gloves in the beginning, and by the end of the lesson, students can do it like easily, and they compete with each other because I have 2 grammar gloves, 1 grammar glove for each small group, and they compete like who is faster. For the future, I'd like to add Braille component on it, and the associations will be the same. That's natural for all the people that is index finger. That is not index finger. Like in the internet, I saw an article which even has references to my lecture, but they put fingers in a different way. For some strange reason, this is an index finger for them. Can you imagine this finger as index, like, do your homework? That is probably because people look like from the opposite direction. What we should do is we put it on the right hand, and when we put it, I'll do it one more time. When we put it, we do it like this. We'll look at our palm. We start from small finger, How do they read? And then to show it to our class, we just this. So that is the gesture. We should not show it like this, because again, I know teachers. Well, teachers are really good at like in sentences, but for children, it is important to see this link, like to particular fingers, and teachers, let me say, employ other fingers and do it in a random way, but they know what result they should get, and when they show a sentence like that, and their sentence is correct, but it is correct because no, what result they should get, you see that the way it doesn't work, they just change their hand like this, and it works.
Он создал новую обучающую игру. С ее помощью изучать язык лордов и леди стало проще и интереснее.
Okay, what's that? Ah, okay.
Получается, что в случайном порядке у каждого свой набор слов.
Is it okay? Yeah, okay. Was it me? Really? Okay. Okay, no problem. Okay. I multiplied. So, one more thing I'd like to show. That is a puzzle. Again, this puzzle can be used for BVI learners if I add a Braille component in it. So I can show you how it works. We put this stuff away. And then you can make words. For example, you can teach grammar. I can use this game to make an irregular verb in past simple, for example. Just a moment. Give me a second. I'll make, well, a past simple verb for you. Just a moment. Okay. Let it be. Okay, probably came. So it usually takes some time, but not much. So I have came. And I can change it into come quite quickly. So that is come. So it can be used for grammar. It can be used for phonetics. If you ask your students to make a word like with air sound, with shoe sound, you can also make it. Yeah. But definitely, well, if we speak of cards, teachers can make the cards. No, I mean card game, other card games. So cards can be easily like produced by teachers themselves, and this is a more difficult thing to produce. But the principle works pretty well. and I see that it may work for the BVI setting as well as it can work for the regular classroom. So I will show you one more game. That is degrees of comparison of adjectives. I'll open a new one for you. So like in casino, like to show, I open a new deck. So the cards are quite simple, no pictures, no translation. You see the fate of an author, of material developer, is usually to be subject to critics. When I had cards with translation into Russian, like many people said, why do you need that translation? We don't need translation. When I finally have the cards with no translation, like communicative method, many people say like why don't you have a translation on the cards? But anyway, I believe that this kind of presentation of material, no translation, no picture, is better, because these cards are not just to look and remember. These cards are to play, and I'll tell you how we can play. I have here 20 adjectives, 3 forms each: positive, comparative, superlative. Every student from 2 to 10. The game is from, the game is for a group from, oh, I see, from 2 to 10. Each player takes 5 cards. Then we try to get rid of our cards. Like in each, in every card game, it is like that. Usually you have to get rid of cards and then you win. If I put better, let it be the first card, better, the next player, okay, I'm the next player, let it be different, the next player number 2, I should put the same adjective or the same form. So if I have better, I can put bigger, the same form, or I can put best, the same adjective. So the same form or the same adjective. Okay, let it be best. Player number 3 can put worst, the same form, superlative on superlative, or the same adjective. If I have best, it can be good. So this game goes on and on and on. And if you do not have a card, you need to take it from the deck. For example, player number 4. I don't have any superlatives, and I do not have bad or worse. That's why I need to take a card from the deck. I'm taking it from the deck, and I cannot use it. It means that I actually have to keep it. So I had 3 cards, 4 cards, and then I say I skip, and the next player plays. So that is like every card or board game is like when you have like 1 by 1, when you play 1 by 1. If you do not have a necessary card, you take it from the deck. If you still don't have it, you skip. If you have it, you use it. And when you've used all your cards, like worst, the most beautiful, beautiful. I've used it, I win. We can play to the first winner, but in many cases students want to continue, and we can play to see who is the second winner. But we have this problem with the first winner, that the first, the winners are people who are soon bored. They are bored and they say like we win already, we have nothing to do. And to give them a task, I ask the winners in turns to tell something positive about themselves. For example, all the rest people play, and when it comes to the winner should tell like, I'm the best, I'm perfect. So tell something about himself or herself using adjectives. And if you give such a task to the winner will not distract other players, and while others are playing, the winner will think what to say when his or her turn comes. And it helps a lot because many winners are like that. When they win, they start distract others because they feel out of game. Like for some time they are quite happy that they're winners, but later they feel that others play and they do not play, and they try to come back into the game by distracting others. So if you give tasks to the winners, that is usually a very positive thing to do. I will show you one more game. Again, as a card game, every game that I show can be potentially made in a BVI version, just by adding a Braille component. Because again, when you play a board game, you play by hands, and it's highly kinesthetic, and it's one more channel of perception of information. So probably show this game, which is phonetic battle. So what is the idea here? That's also a new game. So our intellectual casino goes on. So here we have different words, but the rules the rules are really different from what we had before. The players should take 5 cards, and then they should attack, like one by one they attack their opponents. For example, I'm player number 1, I attack the next player, and for attacking the next player I use the word bag. It is a sound. I use this word against the next player. The next player should put the same vowel but a different sound. If I have a, it should be a. So open and closed syllable. It is closed syllable, and we should put open, like bag, and the next player should use cake. The same letter, but a different type of syllable. Bag, cake. In this case, it's well, combination is ready, and these cards are discarded, and the game goes on. Player number 2. As I have well, responded to the attack with my word, I'm player number 2. Now it's my turn. For example, I have 2 words with the same sound. For example, hot and dog. Hot dog. So I can use 2 words of the same sound against player number 3. I can do it simultaneously or one by one. For example, hot. Player number 3 can answer go. Hot or go oh. Yeah. And then I say, okay, dog. And player number 3, if he or she does not have any O sound, player number 3 should take.